yeah. Who is the immigrant? If we are living in the same land, sharing the same sun. Who is the immigrant?
Let's welcome to Impact veteran business and media mogul Larry Namer, co-founder of Entertainment Television, president and CEO of Metan Global Entertainment Group. I am so excited because this is going to be a masterclass on how to become a business mogul. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Thank you for having me.
That's amazing. Every natural-born American, except for some, has a family history. What's yours?
My family is from Turkey.
Okay.
And my dad drove a Pepsi Cola truck, and mom was social service worker in the city of New York, and they were very typical, immigrants of that time. In that, they really, at that time, they wanted their children to be American as quickly as possible. And I think immigration has changed dramatically over the last several decades.
Yes.
When my parents, they just wanted their kids to be American. They wanted no connection to their heritage, no connection to their language. It was they wouldn't. While they spoke Turkish and Spanish, they wouldn't speak it in front of us. They wouldn't teach it to us, which Spanish could have certainly helped me these days. But we were really pushed to be American kids. Our mother and father would work 2 jobs each because they wanted. I was going to be the first kid ever to go to college, and whether I wanted to or not, I was going to college and. They constantly reminded me of that. And there was this real pushing always for do good in school.
Right.
A lot of community service kind of stuff. So you had to be involved in the community. You had to be very active in school.
That's interesting because when you think about the American culture and wanting you to be American, what is American? If it's not embedded in some immigrant culture.
Well, what is American? American was, at that point was, eating hamburgers and fitting in.
Yes.
It was going to college like most, quote, American kids did, and, getting a good job and, playing football and going to the movies and, enjoying what was thought of as the American lifestyle.
Correct. That's very true. Now, talking about the education side and pushing you. That's ironic because we immigrants think, or most people think, that immigrants bring that discipline of education and wanting you to succeed. So I'm surprised that.
Well, they do. My parents had that. I wouldn't necessarily say I had it.
Okay.
But yeah, hanging out with, other, quote, American kids, it seemed so unimportant to us. We just thought we would do good because. So
did all of that shape who you are today in any way?
Oh, yeah, clearly shaped
How is
who
that?
I am today. It's just, this feeling that if I really worked hard, I could do anything I want, that there were no barriers to where I can rise.
Okay.
I mean, for most people, when they meet me, they're surprised because they're expecting a Rupert Murdoch or, a Ted Turner or somebody like that. And I'm still a Brooklyn kid, who's the kid of a Pepsi Cola driver. A lot of it was just the hard work. There's a humbleness there that don't think you're more than, at the end of the day, you're still a person just like the person next to you. So.
Yes. So how did you come about the whole idea of Entertainment? I know you're co-founder.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, and then I ended up out of college. I couldn't get a job, so I ended up getting a job in a company that was one of the early cable companies. And my job was going under the streets of New York and splicing the cables together, which I thought would be a nice summer job. But, here I am almost 50 years later. I'm still in the same business. But cable was new.
Yes.
And I was working underground, literally where the rats and the cockroaches would be and stuff like that. But then when cable began to really grow as an industry, big companies started buying into it. So the company I worked for got bought by Time magazine, who decided they wanted to be a media company. And so they bought this cable company. But then you had all the Yale and Harvard guys looking at saying, what do those guys who work under the streets do? Who most of them were from Puerto Rico and stuff like that. And then somebody from HR said, wait a second, there's a guy with an economics degree that knows what they do. He does it with them. So I kind of became almost a translator between the Harvard and the Yale guys and, the people who were in the streets actually building the cable system. So that's I kind of grew up in that world. And then, 10 years later, the big cities all began to realize that cable had all this potential for bringing diversity and more. And stuff. And the city of Los Angeles gave out a franchise for cable TV, but they wanted it all to be built underground.
Okay.
Well, fortunate for me, I built Manhattan, so I was the only one who knew how to build underground.
To do it.
So I got recruited to come out here, like I was 31 years old, and they literally just said, here's the paper from the city, and here's $400 million. Go build this. They didn't give me the $400
Of course.
million, but just, the bank commitments and stuff. So I built what was, the San Fernando Valley cable system there. And it was there that I really, my skills broadened from being operational to now I learned finance, and then I was involved in marketing and programming. And when that company sold out and decided to go back to Canada, I just said I didn't go from New York to L.A. to go to Canada. So my friend and I just started kicking around ideas, and at that time, cable was pretty new, and we said, okay, MTV of the movies. And we went, yeah, that's a good one, MTV of the movies. And we weren't smart enough to know that you can't just wake up in the morning and start a TV network. So we wrote a business plan. It took us 3.5 years to raise any money because people would literally say, good idea, but you're not Rupert Murdoch.
Correct.
And we just decided we could be Rupert Murdoch if we wanted to.
So
we just kept doing it. And then when it went on the air, everybody said, oh, why didn't you tell us that's what you want to do? We would have given you that money, 3.5 years ago. But I was down to $60 in the bank and starting to think, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. But, yeah, it happened.
That's just so awesome. And now your company, Metan Global Entertainment Group, is doing work with China. Hey, if this is your first time visiting TIMTV channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button here below and ring the notification bell so you will be notified when we post new content.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
I was doing a lot of stuff in the Soviet Union. I liked working out of the country. After E was established and stuff, after a while it got a little boring for me. I mean, it was the same thing every day.
That's the mindset.
And, as a person who wakes up in the morning with 10 new ideas, because by this time my head was bubbling. Yeah. And so I said, let me go to places where there is no Rupert Murdoch. So I said, Russia. So I went to Russia, and I had, then the Soviet Union, I had a TV show there that lasted 10 years. And it was all throughout the Soviet Union. Which actually changed the culture there, because people got to see the way Americans lived in the show, and then I ended up helping the Russians do kind of the legislation that transformed media. They made it a little more friendly to marketeers, but always with that fine line, like don't go across this line. So when the Chinese kind of realized they needed to reform their media also. This post-communist thing. They looked at the Russian model. They said, oh, we like that model. And they went to the Russians and said, could you help us? And the Russians said, no, you got to call this guy in L.A. And so I got called in by the Chinese government.
You seem to always be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Are you experiencing the immigrant lifestyle in China? Like we are here in the United States.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you're clearly the minority there.
Yes.
So I grew up in a neighborhood that was 25% African American, it was 25% white, and it was 50% Hispanic.
Yes.
So my friends, in growing up, we had quite a diverse thing. But you can never really say you understand the way a black person feels or a Puerto Rican person feels because you're white. At the end of the day, you're going to be treated as white.
That's true.
But in China, you were clearly the minority. I mean, I've had girlfriends whose parents made us break up because, God forbid, you go out with a white guy. And,
there you go.
And stuff.
Imagine that.
It was, so you kind of...
So then when you come back, then you have an appreciation for what it is to leave immigrant.
Yeah, and it was actually funny because I had a TV show that I didn't. I love to cook.
Yeah.
And I had a TV show in Beijing, which was literally called "White Boy Cooks Chinese Food."
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So last words. As a successful entrepreneur that you are, what tip would you give immigrants who are facing this onslaught of negativity and trying to survive?
Well, first, you need to. I think at the end of the day, you know, it's the hard work and dedication that will pay off.
Absolutely.
I mean, and getting around, you know, and you just got to learn. You can't listen to idiots. I mean, you know, it's one of the things. It's like you just got to dismiss and go idiot next, and just not let it get you down, because there's only small slices of the population that feel that way, that feel that their lack of success is because of your success.
Okay.
And it's wrong. I mean, it's just absolutely wrong. And, you know, at the end of the day, who cares what they think? Just go for it.
That's such wisdom. Thank you so much, Larry. You have to come back. But before you go, say hello to to our Chinese listeners.
Ni hao.
We've come to the end of our show. I hope you had a fabulous time with us. See you next time on Impact with Pamela and Chang. Thanks for watching today's video. For more TIMTV videos about immigrant lifestyles, click on the subscribe button here below and ring the notification bell so you will be notified when we upload new content. We upload new content every single week. See you next time on TIMTV.